Got a little question for you. What's the first thing you would do after being stuck in a dirty, dusty sulphur pit for so long? Well, you'd pick yourself up, dust yourself down, and start all over again. Oh yes, and you get yourself all decked out again in your favourite black suit. Just like this guy here did. Hi guys, welcome to another video. Hope you're all keeping well. In this video, I'd just like to talk about the 1942 sequel to Son of Frankenstein, and that sequel is called The Ghost of Frankenstein. Now, before I talk a little bit more about the basic plot of The Ghost of Frankenstein, I'd just like to give you, a little bit of background info on the movie. Right, okay, so The Ghost of Frankenstein was a Universal horror movie made in 1942, and as I've just said, it's a direct sequel to Son of Frankenstein from 1939. Now, the movie stars Lon Chaney Jr., who steps into the boots of Boris Karloff to play the Frankenstein monster. Then you've got Sir Cedric Hardwicke, who plays Frankenstein's second son Ludwig. Bela Lugosi, who reprises his role as Igor, Evelyn Ankers as Elsa Frankenstein, Lionel Atwill as Dr. Boehmer, and Ralph Bellamy as Eric Ernst. Now, the movie was directed by Earl C. Kenton from a screenplay by W. Scott Darling. The basic storyline was written by Eric Taylor. Right, now I'd just like to move on now to the basic premise of The Ghost of Frankenstein. So the movie takes place, sometime after the events of Son of Frankenstein, and it opens to show an appreciable air of collective unrest among the residents of the village of Frankenstein. Now, despite the cordial departure of Wolf von Frankenstein, who was played by Basil Rathbone at the end of the previous film, Son of Frankenstein, the villagers, well, they still feel they're under a curse. They soon forgot about Wolf's little olive branch of friendship, didn't they? And so attributes all their old fears to Frankenstein's monster. Moreover, rumours start to circulate about Igor, who is still alive and supposedly trying to revive the Frankenstein monster. Now, ultimately, the mayor addresses their concerns and allows them to destroy Frankenstein's castle. But Igor, who by some strange miracle is still alive and well and lurking around in the castle, despite having been shot to death by Wolf Frankenstein in the previous movie, finds the monster released from a sulphuric tomb by the explosions. And as the pair then walk out into the stormy night, a lightning bolt strikes the monster. But instead of being harmed by it, the creature just seems to be, rejuvenated. Now, realising this, Igor then rants about the lightning being good for the monster because the lightning was his mother, but his father was Frankenstein. Universal were great at doing these iconic set pieces, guys. Now, Igor then tells his monstrous friend that they will leave this village and go and seek out Frankenstein's second son, Ludwig. The plan being, to persuade Ludwig to help the monster regain his strength, regain the strength that had been weakened, by the effects of the sulphur pit, which he was kicked into at the end of the last movie, Son of Frankenstein. So off the two of them go then to Visaria, where Ludwig Frankenstein has a practice which he shares with two assistants, Dr. Kettering and Dr. Boehmer. Now, once in Visaria, Igor and the monster encounter a young girl, Cloestine Hussman, whom the monster, it takes a liking to, instantly befriends her. Now, when the little girl's ball lands on the roof, the monster carries her up to retrieve it, but he kills 2 villagers in the process. 2 people who attempt to intervene. Now, after little Chloe asks the monster to take her back down, the monster returns the girl to her father, Herr Husman, but he's immediately captured, by the police and incarcerated. Now, the town prosecutor visits Ludwig Frankenstein and asks him to examine the giants they have captured. He got chained up. Igor then calls on Ludwig and tells him that the giant is none other than the monster his father created many years ago. And Igor implores Ludwig Frankenstein to heal the monster's body and brain. Ludwig refuses, but Igor blackmails Ludwig by threatening to reveal Ludwig's ancestry to the villagers. Now, while perusing his family's journals, Ludwig is visited by the titular ghost of his father, Henry Frankenstein, who was played by Colin Clive, in the first 2 Frankenstein movies. And the Phantom implores Ludwig to supply the monster with a good brain. Ludwig calls in Boma and Igor and tells them that he plans to put Dr. Ketting's brain, into the monster's skull. Igor protests, and he asks Ludwig to use his brain, but Ludwig refuses because of Igor's dodgy nature. Now, Elsa Frankenstein, played by the lovely Evelyn Ankers, begs Ludwig to stop his experiments, but her words fall on deaf ears as he decides to operate on the monster as soon as possible. Now, Igor tells Dr. Boma that he should not be subservient to Ludwig, and Igor promises to help the disgraced doctor if he agrees to put Igor's brain, into the monster's skull. Now, I won't give away any more of the plot of Ghost of Frankenstein in case any of you haven't seen the film. Suffice to say that irrespective of the absence of the great Boris Karloff as the creature, I can still highly recommend this movie if you love Universal monster movies as much as I do. It's a great sequel to Son of Frankenstein, and it's equally great to see Bela Lugosi, back as a scheming, crafty shepherd Igor. Now, I'll just give you my thoughts on the movie as a whole. Well, all in all, I thoroughly enjoyed The Ghost of Frankenstein, although admittedly I was a little bit disappointed to see that Karloff did not reprise his role as the monster. It has all the hallmarks of a good classic enthralling horror movie, offered with the usual Universal top quality style. The movie also has a high rewatchability factor, and it one's certainly worth adding to your Universal Monsters collection. Now, all the cast give excellent performances, in particular Sir Cedric Hardwicke as Ludwig Frankenstein, and Bela Lugosi as the incorrigibly scheming Igor. And of course the lovely Evelyn Ankers also adds a very palatable, glamorous touch. And I also enjoyed the twist at the end, which I did not see coming at all. Right, okay guys, I'd just like to show you this DVD I've got here of The Ghost of Frankenstein. I've had this for quite some time. It's just a basic, basic Universal collection DVD. I've actually got the Blu-ray version of this movie on the Frankenstein Blu-ray Legacy set. But I still like to keep the DVDs as well, and that, because if I want to watch the movie in full screen and that, yeah. As I say, this is a very bare bones release, yeah. There's no real special features to speak of, guys. Lon Chaney Jr. there is the Frankenstein monster, and Lionel Atwill, the great Lionel Atwill, yeah, but Universal regular and that, truly fine actor, yeah. So there you go, that's the DVD, The Ghost of Frankenstein. Right, now before I wind up this video, guys, and as is customary, with these movie reviews, I'd just like to give you a bit of trivia, about this movie, which you mightn't have known about. Now, number one, The Ghost of Frankenstein was banned in Denmark when Universal, they tried to release it there in 1948. Number two, apart from briefly standing in for Apart from briefly standing in for Glenn Strange in one scene in Abbott Costello Meet Frankenstein in 1948, this was the first and only time that Lon Chaney Jr. He ever played the Frankenstein monster in Universal's Frankenstein series of the 1930s and 40s. Number 3, Lon Chaney Jr. He actually suffered a severe allergic reaction to the monster makeup used by Jack Pierce and missed several days of shooting. Number 4, Sir Cedric Hardwicke, who plays the ghost of Sir Cedric Hardwicke. Sorry, I'll start again. Sir Cedric Hardwicke, who played Ludwig Frankenstein, he also plays the ghost of his father in the scene where Ludwig Frankenstein ponders on the wisdom of reinvigorating the monster. Now, Hardwicke's mellow baritone sounded nothing at all like the clipped, nervous speech of Colin Clive, who played the original Henry Frankenstein in the first 2 movies. But Colin Clive had sadly passed away in 1937 as a result of poor health exacerbated by acute alcoholism. Fact number 5. This is the only film in Universal Pictures Frankenstein franchise in which a member of the Frankenstein family, in this case, Dr. Ludwig Frankenstein, is killed. Several characters in several of the sequels mention that the original Dr. Frankenstein is deceased, but his death occurs off screen, and so we don't actually see it in any of the films. Now, rating wise, I personally would give The Ghost of Frankenstein 7 out of 10. I would have probably given it a higher rating if Karloff had reprised his role as the monster, and you all know how much I love Boris Karloff as the Frankenstein monster, because for me he was the top man guys in terms of playing Frankenstein's creation, notably for the sense of pathos he brought to the role. And wow, wasn't he just the absolute master of those familiar imploring hand gestures, which brought a degree of humanity, and a need to be understood, to the monster. Yeah, he was just an absolute master of those guys, those imploring hand gestures. He tried to convey to everybody encountered what he was going through. Now, as I've said, it was a great pity, Universal couldn't have coaxed Karloff back. For just one more Frankenstein, just one or 2 more appearances in the Frankenstein movies. All in all, while The Ghost of Frankenstein doesn't quite stand up to its predecessors, and it doesn't really expand on the monster's character, it does boast an enjoyable cast and good production values. And even though it's a rather short movie, running to a duration of just 67 minutes. It still crams enough thrills and chills into that time, to more than delight the heart of any Universal horror fan. The movie is acceptable fun, if you can sort of ignore, the much higher quality, the first three Frankenstein movies, which starred Boris Karloff, as the creature. Yeah, so that, yeah. Okay, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. This review of 1942's The Ghost of Frankenstein. Do you like this movie? What's your favourite Universal Frankenstein movie? Leave your comments down below, guys. Yeah, I'll talk for hours on end about the Universal movies and that, in particular the Frankenstein movies and that, That's a great photograph there of Lon Chaney Jr. as the Frankenstein creature. Yeah, as I say, yeah, it is. Yeah, it's not a bad little movie in that, but admittedly, I did prefer the first 3 in that. Yeah, but I've watched this movie many times and that, and no doubt I shall continue to watch it again and again and that, because that's how much I love my Universal movies and that. Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, yes, I hope you enjoyed this video and that. Yeah. Please feel free to share, subscribe, comments and that. Yeah. And all going well. I'll talk to you all in the next video. Stay safe.